What if the exhaustion that you're feeling, the inflammation that you have in your body, that muscle tension, the jaw clenching, the sore, achy muscles in your neck and shoulders, what if it didn't really have anything to do with getting more sleep, working out more? What if it actually was a sign that your body was just crying out, saying, hey, I am weary from battle? And the battle that I'm talking about is just consistently showing up in spaces where you have to be resilient, where you have to be strong, level headed, the one who has it together. I want to talk about that today. And I want to talk about why that resilience might actually be hurting you more than it's helping you. So, welcome back. I'm Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, and I was diagnosed with not one, but two autoimmune disorders. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I saw it in myself, where I was consistently showing up in spaces that were professional spaces, but I was using my nervous system consistently to keep folks calm, using my nervous system consistently to work through hard problems, to do a lot of emotional heavy lifting. And I won't say that I regret any of that. I don't regret any of that and how I showed up in those spaces. But what I will say is I was not paying attention to the consistent fatigue that was going on in my own body. And it wasn't until my body literally started to scream that I was like, maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention here. And the way that my body started screaming at me was very subtle. The screams for me was my blood pressure just kept dropping. And it would go so low. It would be like 85 over 55. And the only thing I could do was literally just go to sleep. And I would tell my poor husband, I'm like, I don't know why. I feel like I'm going down. I'm going down. I need to go to sleep. And so I would go to sleep, and it'd be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. Deuces, I'm out. I've got to go to bed. And I noticed that in me later on down the line. Eventually I was diagnosed with 2 autoimmune disorders, but I'm also noticing that a lot in a lot of Black women that I know of, and a lot of folks who are engaged in professional spaces where they're the only person of color, where they're the only woman. Or I've seen people that are in spaces where they're the only person that's middle class, or they're the only person that comes from poverty. And when you're operating in these spaces where you have to show up, you have to, I won't necessarily put on a mask. Sometimes we put a mask on for those spaces in particular, but where we have to use our energy in that way consistently, it does wear out our nervous systems. It puts us in a form of fight or flight that is a little bit more subtle, that sometimes it's harder to see because we're not necessarily like, we don't feel like we're running or rushing or anything like that, but it just still feels, And I don't know about for y'all, but for me and for a lot of folks that I talk to, we're raised to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm a military brat, and so my parents were in the service, and they taught me about hard work. They taught me about persevering and pushing even when you don't have anything else left to push. And I have done that consistently. I have. And I've also done things where I've tried to really be good about taking care of my body, taking care of myself. And I just noticed that as I was listening to my own body, my own nervous system, it was saying, Virginia, something is missing. This is not enough for us. We need something. We need something. And so that may look a little bit different for you. That may look like it's taking you longer to go to sleep at night. That may look like your neck and your upper back is just sore. That may look like high blood pressure. Maybe yours is not dipping. Maybe yours is going up. That may look like eating a pack of cookies or a bag of chips for lunch. That may look like drinking a little bit more than what you would like to say in public spaces to folks. So I don't know what that looks like for you, but what I'm telling you is for me, my body was giving me these very, very, very subtle signs of, hey, we're not doing okay. Hey, this is not working for us. hey, it's exhausting being around these folks. Hey, it's exhausting being in these certain spaces where I'm having to pull myself up and pull myself up and pull myself up. I'm tired of pulling myself up, y'all. I can't pull myself up anymore. And I know that there's so many other people out there like me who are in that spot. And I'm saying that because I'm hearing about it. I'm hearing about it from all of my friends. I'm hearing about it from my colleagues. I'm seeing it in social media, in the workplaces. People are saying that they are burned out. They're burned out. And for some of us, particularly Black people, particularly people of color, we're talking about racial battle fatigue, where we are tired, and we're not just tired of just showing up in professional spaces. We're tired because of the emotional and the psychological warfare that we have to do to be able to show up and to be seen and to be appreciated just as much as somebody else that maybe does not have to work quite as hard to be in the same spaces and to look like they belong. So as I was taking a look at this and just really like just pulling it all back and saying like, okay, how do we manage this? How do we start to do this? Because I'm talking to folks and people are saying, Virginia, I'm tired of talking about it. And I sat there with it. I'm like, you know what? A lot of times we've heard that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I think we maybe need to expand that definition a little bit to burnout, where we are doing the same thing over and over and over, hoping that finally we get a seat at the table, hoping that finally we're going to get that promotion, we're going to be recognized, we're going to be able to move into whatever business place that we feel like we deserve to be, that we fought to be in. Or maybe it's not even in the workplace. Maybe it's in our romantic relationships. I can't tell you how many friends and colleagues I have who've said, Virginia, I'm just in this same spot. I'm in the same spot in my relationship. I have somebody, I care about this person, but I'm not finding that my needs are being met in this relationship anymore. I keep hoping on potential. I keep hoping that maybe if I just keep working, if I just keep at it, if I just keep at it, if I just keep at it. And these are intelligent people. These are not insane. These are not, low intelligent, dumb, whatever you want to say, all of these different types of negative labels. These are not these people. These are really fabulous people. And I find that we're stuck in it because we keep believing in potential. We keep believing in this fairy tale that if we just pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, then eventually the pearly gates will open and that promotion will come. That recognition will come. Our partner will value us more. And we just end up burning out, and we end up developing more and more illnesses. I'm thankful that it sounds like probably crazy. I'm thankful I only have 2 autoimmune disorders. I have high blood pressure and diabetes literally on both sides of my family. And so I have fought like hell to hope that I will not develop those illnesses and to try to do all of the things in terms of lifestyle that I can do to not have that be part of my destiny, or to at least push it off as long as possible. And I have done that. And so thankfully those are not the 2 things that I'm dealing with. But I know folks who are dealing with those 2 things plus so much more. So at some point in time, we have got to listen to our exhaustion. At some point in time, we've got to listen to our frustration, our irritation, to start to see like, okay, something is going on. My body is trying to tell me something. What I am doing right now, it is not sustainable. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, and something has to give. If this resonates for you, if this is something that you want to hear more about, I want to begin a consistent conversation about this. And so I'm actually going to start having a series where I'm going to be going over what burnout looks like. How do we start to find ways of navigating newer ways to be able to help our nervous systems, to be able to help our bodies so that we can heal, we can move forward and not fall into the same hole over and over and over again. There's this poem that I love and I share with my clients often when I find that they're in that spot where they're falling in the same pattern over and over and over again. And it's the Hole in the Sidewalk poem. And so if you've not looked it up, you haven't ever read it, I highly recommend reading it. It's simple, it's short, but it kind of starts like this. It says, I was walking down the street one day, there was a hole in the sidewalk, I fell in the hole. I was upset, I was frustrated, I looked around the hole. It was, unsettling, I didn't like it. It was not my fault. It took me a long time to get out. And then the next stanza of the poem says something like this. The next day or the next week, I was walking down the sidewalk, the same sidewalk, and I fell into the hole, the same hole, and I'm frustrated and I'm upset. It still takes me a long time to get out. It's not my fault. And what I always like to share with my clients is that instead of fault, if I was writing it, I would have said, it's not my responsibility. It takes me a long time to get out. The next part of the stanza says something like this. I was walking down the street and walking down the same sidewalk and I fell into the same hole. And it's a very familiar place. I'm still just as frustrated that I'm here. I hate that I'm here, but I realize it is my responsibility. I am in this hole and I've got to make some different choices. It still takes me a long time to get out. The next stanza says that I see that there is a hole in the sidewalk. It's a very familiar hole, and I chose to walk around it. The next stanza says, I went for a walk, and I decided to choose a different sidewalk. This is the process of what healing and growth looks like. This is what it looks like to go beyond being resilient or resistant or whatever it is that we want to try to call ourselves or say so wonderful about us. Falling in the same hole, it does us no good. I have done it over and over and over again for years. It doesn't work, and I've done it in different systems. I've done it in academia. I have also done it in different practices that I've worked. I've also done it in professional communities where I'm just trying to show up. I'm trying to make myself be worthy. Finally, that somebody would see my worth and my value. So I overwork, I overtrain, I overshow up, I overcommit, and it has served me nothing except for a lot of exhaustion and going on this huge mystery hunt to try to find out okay, what is going on with me in terms of my health? So I want to be able to keep this conversation going. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I do ask that you would take that time to do that right now. I'm going to try to have a video every Friday about burnout, about exhaustion, about how can we start to see a different way, get out that hole in the sidewalk, try to find a different sidewalk, please and thank you, all day long. So my name is Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. Thank you so much for this time that you spent with me. I really hope that you do something today to take really good care of you and also do something to take care of those that are in your life. Till next time, bye.